Tired of living paycheck to paycheck? I went from frugal living to building a fortune. Here's how I did it. Stick around and discover the steps that can turn your savings into $1 million empire. Welcome to Finovate.Wealth. When I was broke, I started tracking every single cent. At first, it didn't seem like a game changer, but little did I know it was the first step toward financial freedom. Every morning, I'd sit down and write down my expenses, coffee runs, lunch breaks, that spontaneous weekend trip. It felt tedious at first, almost like an unnecessary chore, but it was essential. Slowly, I started seeing the pattern. Small, careless purchases were quietly draining my potential. I wasn't just spending on things I didn't need. I was unknowingly contributing to my own financial struggle. Tracking my expenses wasn't just about cutting costs. It was about becoming aware of my habits, making better choices, and gaining control over my money. I realized that if I paid attention to where my money was going, I could identify areas where I could save and, more importantly, where I could invest. The habit of tracking gave me the clarity to shift my focus. It was the foundation for everything that came next. Sometimes, the smallest actions lead to the biggest changes. By starting with something simple like tracking, I was able to set myself on the path to real financial transformation. Start tracking today and watch how these little steps can turn into a significant shift in your financial future. After getting serious about tracking my expenses, the next game changer was creating a zero-based budget. Initially, it felt restrictive. It seemed like I was taking away my freedom to spend on whatever I wanted. But as I continued, I realized it gave me a freedom I couldn't have imagined before. The idea behind a zero-based budget is simple. Every dollar I earned had a purpose. Whether it was for bills, savings, or fun, nothing was left unassigned. This approach forced me to stop winging it and to be intentional. Instead of spending mindlessly and hoping for the best, I started making every dollar work for me. I became hyper-aware of where my money was going, and because I was intentional with every penny, I was able to save and invest far more than I had thought possible. By the end of each month, I could see exactly where my money went. The beauty of a zero-based budget is that it gives you control, not deprivation. It's not about cutting out the things you love. It's about making sure everything aligns with your long-term goals. This method turned my savings into real wealth and set me on the path to financial security. One of the biggest eye-openers on my journey to financial independence was realizing just how many subscriptions I was paying for that I didn't need. From streaming services I rarely watched to fitness apps I never used, I had dozens of monthly expenses that were adding up to hundreds of dollars a year. The moment I decided to go through my accounts and cancel everything that wasn't essential, I was shocked by how much money I was wasting. Cutting unnecessary subscriptions wasn't just about saving a few dollars here and there. It was about regaining control over my financial life. I was forced to evaluate what truly added value to my life and what was just a drain on my resources. In the end, the savings were significant, and I was able to redirect that money toward investments that would actually grow my wealth. The lesson here was clear. Sometimes, less is more. Cutting out the excess helped me focus on building my future, not maintaining distractions. By simplifying my financial obligations, I could channel my resources into the things that mattered most, building a more secure and prosperous future. One of the most impactful changes I made to my spending habits was cooking at home instead of constantly ordering takeout. Initially, it felt like a small sacrifice, but I quickly saw the financial rewards. I'd been spending $15 to $20 on lunch or dinner every day. When I added it all up, it was staggering. That's when I decided to plan my meals, shop in bulk, and cook from scratch. By taking the time to prepare meals at home, I was able to save hundreds of dollars each month. But it wasn't just about saving money. It was about becoming more mindful of my spending habits. Cooking at home also gave me the freedom to experiment with healthy, budget-friendly meals. I started to enjoy the process and feel a sense of control over my life. Avoiding takeout wasn't about deprivation. It was about being intentional with how I used my money. The small shift in my eating habits allowed me to redirect that money toward more meaningful financial goals. In the long run, cooking at home didn't just save me money. It gave me a sense of pride and control over my financial future. One of the most powerful shifts I made in my spending habits was learning to prioritize quality over quantity. I used to think that buying things in bulk or grabbing the cheapest option was the way to save money. But I quickly realized that those cheap, low-quality items ended up costing me more in the long run. They broke easily, wore out quickly, and needed to be replaced constantly. So I began to focus on buying fewer but better quality things. Instead of buying 5 pairs of shoes that would fall apart in a year, I invested in 1 pair of durable, well-made shoes that lasted for years. The same went for kitchen appliances, clothes, and furniture. By spending more upfront on quality items, I ended up saving money over time because I didn't have to constantly replace or repair things. This shift in mindset helped me build a more sustainable, long-term approach to my purchases. It wasn't about buying less, it was about buying smarter. Prioritizing quality over quantity aligned with my long-term goals and helped me avoid wasting money on things that didn't bring value into my life. One of the most important financial habits I developed was investing every extra dollar I could. Whether it was a small windfall like a tax refund, a bonus, or savings from cutting back on other expenses, I made sure to put that money to work. Initially, it felt like a leap of faith. But over time, I saw the results. My investments grew steadily. Investing every extra dollar helped me shift from being a passive saver to an active wealth builder. It wasn't just about putting money into savings accounts and hoping for the best. I started putting my money into stocks, real estate, and retirement accounts, assets that could grow and compound over time. The key was consistency. I didn't wait for the perfect investment opportunity. Instead, I invested whatever I could, no matter how small. Every dollar had the potential to grow, and by making my money work for me, I started building wealth in ways I couldn't have imagined. This habit was what set me on the path to becoming a millionaire. It was a commitment to make every dollar count. I used to be terrified of credit cards, thinking that they would quickly spiral out of control. But over time, I learned to use them to my advantage. Instead of racking up debt, I started using credit cards strategically for the rewards and benefits they offered. I paid off my balance every month, ensuring I never paid interest. By choosing credit cards that offered cashback or travel rewards, I turned my everyday spending into something valuable. Groceries, gas, utility bills, every expense became an opportunity to earn points, which eventually turned into free travel or extra cash. Using credit cards for rewards, not debt, became a game changer. It allowed me to leverage my spending instead of letting it control me. By mastering this, I created additional streams of value without spending more money. It taught me how to use credit responsibly and maximize its potential to benefit my financial journey. While living frugally was crucial, I knew that it wasn't enough on its own to build significant wealth. Increasing my income was just as important. That's when I made the decision to side hustle relentlessly. I started exploring every opportunity to earn extra money outside of my main job, from freelancing to tutoring and even selling products online. It didn't matter what the hustle was, as long as it could generate some income. In the beginning, it was exhausting. I was juggling full-time work with late nights and weekends spent working on my side projects. Every hour I spent on my side hustle was time away from my personal life, but I knew it was necessary for the bigger picture. Slowly, those side hustles started to gain traction. Whether it was through word-of-mouth referrals or repeat customers, my side businesses started bringing in steady income. But the real payoff came when I realized that these side hustles gave me not just more money, but more freedom. I wasn't tied down to one income stream. I had multiple sources of income working in harmony to accelerate my wealth building. It wasn't just about making more money. It was about expanding my potential, opening doors to new opportunities, and diversifying my financial future. Side hustling taught me the power of relentless effort and resilience. It proved that, with the right mindset and the willingness to work hard, I could create the financial freedom I wanted. Each side hustle, no matter how small, taught me invaluable lessons about entrepreneurship, time management, and scaling. It was exhausting at times, but every hour invested in these side projects paid off in ways I could never have imagined. Living below my means was the cornerstone of my wealth-building journey. As I started earning more, there were moments when it was tempting to upgrade my lifestyle. I could have easily afforded a bigger house, fancier clothes, or lavish vacations, but I knew that those short-term rewards would only delay my long-term goals. Instead, I made a conscious choice to keep my expenses low, regardless of how much money I made. This wasn't about depriving myself of enjoyment. It was about focusing on long-term financial security over instant gratification. For instance, I avoided upgrading my car every time I got a raise. I didn't buy expensive gadgets just because I could afford them. I focused on being strategic with my money, investing rather than spending it. Living below my means allowed me to accumulate capital that I could reinvest into assets that would generate wealth. By keeping my expenses manageable, I had the flexibility to take more calculated risks and make strategic investments. The result was that instead of struggling with debt or worrying about money, I was building a financial future that was stronger and more secure. This practice of living below my means created the space I needed to build true wealth over time. One of the most powerful financial strategies I adopted was learning to reinvest my profits rather than spending them. After I started seeing some returns from my initial investments, whether from side hustles, stocks, or other assets, I realized that true wealth building comes from not only earning money, but making that money work for me. Reinvesting profits meant that instead of cashing out my earnings or spending them on short-term pleasures, I put them back into new opportunities. This could mean reinvesting profits from a side hustle into scaling that business or using returns from an investment to buy more assets, whether it was real estate, stocks, or even educational courses that could help me level up. Every time I saw a return, I didn't take the easy route and spend it. Instead, I allowed it to compound, building even more wealth. This strategy of reinvesting became crucial to my growth. It wasn't about taking profits and treating myself to a luxury vacation or splurging on a new car. The true wealth-building power came from keeping that money in motion, whether it was through reinvesting in the same ventures that generated profits or branching out into new ones. This habit of reinvesting was one of the key decisions that set me on the path to long-term financial success. It reinforced the idea that wealth isn't about one-time gains, but about creating a cycle of growth that keeps generating more opportunities over time. The discipline to reinvest my profits, no matter how tempting it was to spend, was one of the most important lessons I learned on my journey to millionaire status. You've got the blueprint. Now it's time to take action. Start small, stay consistent, and watch your fortune grow. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more wealth-building tips. Let's turn your savings into success.